John D. Miller and Geno. Let's go, baby. It's Friday. We're excited. Come on now. Oh, yes. Florida Marlins. Florida Marlins. Now, let me tell you something. Let's just go right to that. Let's go right to that. We have a lot to talk about here. I know you're a big sports fan. There's no doubt about it. You're a big sports fan. You actually went to the game. And we need to talk about the Stanley Cup situation right now because we've got the Florida Panthers that are just looking incredible. They got by the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know, you were there in Sunrise at the stadium and stuff like that. Now we've got them up 2-0 over Carolina. Dallas Stars are looking pretty good over Edmonton. What do you think now? How do you feel about the Florida Panthers, and how do you feel about the NHL?
I mean, you got to feel somewhat comfortable and confident for them when they're up 2-0, and both games were away, right? So that's one of the things I would definitely tell you. But you're looking at probably the blueprint for winning an NHL championship is forget about chasing after all the points. If you look at the teams that are left, Carolina, Edmonton, Dallas, and Florida, Florida has the least amount of points. They're going to have no home court, home ice advantage, right?
Right.
So even if they make it to the finals, they're going to have to play at least 2 games, maybe even 4 games at somebody else's ice. But what they've shown for the last, I think 4 away games now, they've scored 22 goals.
Wow.
To 4 goals in the last. So they won 6-1. They won 6-1. Those are the 2 games they played in Toronto. The last 2 games in Toronto, the mecca of ice hockey,
of course,
were 6-1 shellackings. 6-1 shellackings. and then we go up to a team that hasn't won a game.
How'd your buddies Tony and Mike feel about that?
Oh, they hated it. That's my favorite part about Tony and Mike is that we are on this thing on. It's called Ice Hockey Smack Talk or Hockey Smack Talk.
Okay.
And I just send them memes all day long, every day, all day. Mike tries to make it political. I try to keep it back to sports, and
right. Of course.
That's just Mike. But the hilarious part about it is that they got nothing to say except for we just did it again. We just did another game 7. I was watching this one video.
Let me just say this. For those and I'll let you talk. Believe me. But for those that don't know, Mike Rocket, and many in the automotive space and the Audi world do. It's just so satisfying to see Mike go from that not super arrogant, from that arrogant kind of feeling as those type of thing to almost this resigned Eeyore type of demeanor once he's been defeated. Go ahead.
I think he likes being. I don't know what he would do if. I was there. I remember him when the Raptors won, so he was really excited about that, and that's the last time that Canada's won anything of any significance since the Blue Jays won in the 90s for the World Series. But literally, it's 1967, guys. 67. We're talking.
It's been a minute.
58 years? Is that what it is?
It's a long time.
58 years. 58
it's
years.
I mean,
what's that? Come on. The last time they won, there was 6 teams in the NHL. I like, I don't have anything against the Leafs, but I don't want to lose to them, especially after they started that whole "We Want Florida" chant 2 years ago.
Yes,
and that's when we beat Boston in a Game 7. Went up there and showed them, what's what.
It got competitive with the Lightning, Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay, you know what I mean. And now it's the Panthers. I mean, Florida has been able to show up in hockey, which is really, really cool
because we have a competitive advantage. Look at the 3 teams. Well, no, look at the 2 teams that I think are playing the best right now. But you think about it, Dallas. No state income tax.
Right.
Tampa, no state income tax. The Predators stink, but there's no state income tax in Tennessee either. And then obviously the Panthers, no state income tax. And then you look at the bottom of the league, and it's the San Jose Sharks. right?
Yeah.
Like too much tax. So
Let me,
it's a hard cap. Like the
right.
NHL is a hard cap. You can't just be like the NBA and
That's
spend
your
as much
money.
money as you possibly want, hit the apron and pay the luxury tax and have $500 million like the Boston Celtics are going to have next year. You have to actually keep yourself under the cap. And if you have a guy that's on the roster and you're over the cap, they can't even They can't even suit up. They have to be like at home.
to,
So
to that point,
you
as a player, you've seen this with golf, and Florida is definitely the world capital for golf, right? And you had, I want to say Phil Mickelson. I don't want to put any words in his mouth, but I think he was in California looking maybe to do the Florida thing. Tiger Woods, famously from Stanford, California, came over here. The late great Rush Limbaugh talked about moving to Florida. So a lot of these high earners, exactly as you're saying, Geno, move to Florida specifically because of the no income tax.
well, I think
A state income tax that might be 10, 13%. That's a huge deal when you're making
well,
millions or tens of millions of dollars. Go ahead.
if you want to circle it back, like let's talk about a business model, right? Like if you are a professional sports agent, you want to be in Florida. You want to know why you want to be in Florida?
Players.
Players, number one, right? But number two, you could be like in the back pocket, and the team that I would pick out of all the teams would be Jacksonville, right?
Wow.
Because if you own the Jacksonville, like you're the not the exclusive, but the primary share of all of the Jacksonville Jaguars players, sports agent. Think about this. You live in Jacksonville, 8 of your games are in Jacksonville. Remember, you pay taxes based upon
Where you
where you
play.
play the game,
Yep.
right? You play Houston, no taxes.
Perfect.
You play the Tennessee Titans, no taxes.
Perfect.
So there's 8 plus 2. Well, it's actually 9 plus 2. So it could be 11 of your 17 games are no taxes, right?
Significant.
It's huge,
Tennessee
right?
Titans.
And if you play like this year or the next year, I think they play the Dolphins or they play Jackson or they play Tampa. Like, I mean,
It takes care of a lot.
it
Yeah.
takes care of a lot. You could get, the same thing happens. Like I said, like if you are a sports agent for the Florida Panthers, it's
Mm-hmm.
like getting them 10 million US is way different than getting them 10 million just Canadian,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But then
Right.
you factor in the taxes, and next thing you know, it's 10 million is really like 15 million
That's the other thing. We
Canadian.
may talk about some political stuff, but I mean, like what you just said right there, and we're seeing it with, you're seeing with businesses, you're seeing with players, you might be seeing it with home builders. If you look at now, and again, we're not giving financial advice, any other credit advice, everything you do is at your own risk, etc. But if you have Canadian dollars, depending on what happens with trade and tariffs and everything else, the exchange rate, I mean, you could see some of these currencies moving. I mean, you could be very affected by currency fluctuations. I won't even go into specific predictions, but that could be a big deal as well as you're talking about.
And think about like if I'm not advocating for it, but like look
Right.
at Major League Baseball. Like I'm wearing the Marlins hat, lowest payroll. I think it's like 67 million, right?
Yes.
There's people in our division that have over 300 million, like more than 4 times the amount of money they're spending
Wow.
versus the team, right? So like, and that's why you could literally probably go, and I don't want them to get rid of the Marlins, but like they can make baseball 16 teams.
Right. Right.
You can get rid of half.
Right.
Like if the A's weren't moving to Vegas, that's one of them, right? Like the Mariners. Really? Do we need the Mariners? Like who goes to the Mariner games? Right? Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful stadium, but who really cares about Pittsburgh?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you can go to the White Sox. The White Sox? I mean, Baltimore's got a beautiful stadium, bunch of history. It's rich, but they're worse than the Marlins, and they actually spend money. Right? You just go through all of the
Team
teams
by
that are
team.
there. You
Yep.
can get rid of 16 of them,
Yeah. Well,
and
it's
then you
interesting,
get,
and we
or
might
you could like fix it because right now it's going to be the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Mets.
right. Yeah, and
Like
it's very
like,
interesting because we talk about, and we may get to this, is a very
the
interesting.
'03 Marlins were a once in a lifetime situation. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We may talk about this because of the Tim Dillon had a very interesting interview with CNN. And there's a lot of news out there that we'll get to. I know we can't go too long tonight. But and one of the questions on that was, hey, it looks like the right wing is really has Joe Rogan is really has like a lot of the top podcasts and everything like that, and whether it's football, it's professional football, professional basketball, baseball, podcasting, whatever like that, there's only so much top elite talent. And the idea that everyone can have a podcast. I mean, Michelle Obama, famously has just launched a podcast recently. And I mean, how is that doing? I mean, we've seen Air America try to be the, hey,
Well, why don't you pull it up on your screen? Let's see the
let's
top.
do it. Let's do it.
Let's see
I
the
have to
top
be
10
very,
podcaster.
yes, I got to be very, very tight with this. We're probably not going to put the sound on. Maybe put just a very, very little.
No, you don't have to play any video. I just want to see a list of the top 5 or 10
I don't know.
podcasts.
Well, okay. Well, hold on a
Let's
second.
look at it. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. You got the
One
power.
step at a time here. So let me show you this.
Can you handle that? Can you handle Googling the top 10 podcasters?
Let me just do. Okay,
Are you able to do that?
I am, but I want to show you something first.
Because I guarantee if you were artificial intelligence, if you were
I love the AI. I love the AI. I love the AI.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go.
There we go.
Let me work this out.
Just look at it in Google. Don't look at it there. Look at it in Google.
All right. Let me just set this up, and then we'll come back to your top 5 podcasts.
Okay. Right. Here we go.
All right,
Chief Nerd. Tim Dillon.
Okay.
There we go.
So, Chief
Bill
Nerd.
Burr. Where's he at?
Chief Nerd has like almost 1 million followers.
I ask
so
because.
Okay. Wait.
Do you feel like?
Okay, hold on. I don't want to play. Gotta be careful here.
Don't play any of that.
I know.
Here's the conversation point. Like, let's go Google the top 10 podcasters.
Okay, I will. Google. Geno, hold on a second. So you have Tim Dillon here. Okay. Now I'm going to turn the sound off. You heard a little vibe over here. And CNN Journal tells Tim Dillon that there are no left of center comedians. Tim Dillon rattles off a dozen. I mean, you want to talk
about Bill, what's the guy's name? Bill Burr?
Bill Burr. Right. Massively successful comedians that are all successful. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm setting this up. Okay.
Comedy. Perception is reality, though, for a lot of people, though. That's, what I mean? That's
it's kind of very weird. I mean, this just shows you kind of what we're kind of covering this up. Okay, hold on. I got to frame this right. Sorry, 1 second, audience. I got to frame this right. Okay, so he's just going through like a list of all these
Sarah Silverman,
yeah, Sarah Silverman, Bill Burr, Louis
C.K.
Don't mention that. And he's like, look, he's never voted for a Republican before. So he just rattles off all these names. And in the interview, is she implicated? I mean, I don't know. I'm not alleging anything, but like didn't want to talk about. And I think Tim's like, what? Because he's an imperfect person. I don't know what's going on with Louis C.K. I don't watch this stuff. I have no idea. I'm not vouching. I mean, I have no comment whatsoever about that at all. But the point of it
Louis C.K., let me just tell you something. This is hilarious. Louis C.K. has one of the best lines I've ever heard before. And it was one of his stand-up things. And he was like talking about like how he's going through divorce and he gets to see the kids every other week. And then he spends time with the kids, this, that, and the third. And when he doesn't have the kids, he's basically like just partying like a rock star, waking up, wearing a flannel, drinking like straight liquor all day long. And somebody asked him, he's like, how's your divorce going? And he was like in a panic. Like, he's like, my divorce is, no one ever says this. My divorce is falling apart. Like, I'm having too much fun. Like, the dude's funny. I don't care if he is an imperfect person or not. I get it. Like, and there's probably plenty of people online that are listening or watching that, have their opinions on him. And I get it. Like, no one's perfect. Like, there's only one that I know that's perfect. And he gave his only begotten son for us. Right. So that's how I look at it. Like, yes, he's a terrible person for that moment, but that moment doesn't make everything about him. Right. So.
Well, everyone's imperfect. And again, I don't even know the specifics whatsoever. I haven't listened to Louis C.K., but your point, I think, I'm not speaking for you. And Tim Dillon's point is this is a dude that's selling all kinds of albums, that had comedy specials, that's selling out arenas and stuff like that. He's a big name, has never voted for Republican. Larry David, Richard Belzer, maybe, who I think, maybe I'm wrong. Who is that other guy that was on? You have all these people that are on Curb Your Enthusiasm, a lot of them, right? Chelsea Handler, he named Sarah Silverman. I mean, there's so many liberal comedians that, Julie Louis Dreyfus. I mean, there's tons of them, right?
Yeah. I don't know if they're like, I think phraseology of like calling them a liberal anything is kind of weird.
I think, and again, it's not about left, right. It's, to me,
I think if you're phrasing it as, I think that term's been thrown around so much, so many different times. It's like a derogatory term at this point, right? I think that left of center is probably a better.
Whatever, that's fine. Whatever you want to say. The point of it is, and he walks her through this. It's like, because the left no longer has a total domination on these different power centers, whether it's government, universities, we might get to Harvard.
They don't have anything.
Media.
What? They have zero domination. They have not one branch right now.
I don't know about that.
Zero branches.
Well, you're talking about government. That's not true either.
Well,
but I
you
mean,
just said it though. Like, what do they have? Like, they don't have any of that. They're not the ruling class anymore.
Well,
that portion is over.
No, I disagree with that. But that's okay. The point is, here's this long list, Bill Maher, and a lot of the people that she's talking about, maybe whether it's Rogan or possibly Bill Maher now, I don't know. A lot of these Theo Vaughn, a lot of these podcasters, Dave Smith, Tim Pool. They all
look it up. That's what I was telling you. Why don't you pull up the top 10?
Let's go. Okay. I had to show, but I had to set this up. Believe me.
Yeah, I don't know what you set up, but yes, there's podcasters for both sides. Look, this is my favorite way of having a conversation. Just Google it or Chat GPT it or whatever. John GPT.
I know that's the new thing, right? All right, let's go. So
where's that? I don't see it on the screen. Show it on the screen.
I am. Give me a second. It doesn't happen instantaneously.
Like you're way better than this.
Oh,
you get the world right behind you.
You are
like the most simple thing in the history of simple things to do.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Top 10 things that all happen super easy. It doesn't. Okay, here we go.
Right, all right. Click the link. Click. Okay, so let's look at this first one. Joe Rogan. Okay, and so like I would tell you, here's where you pause for a second. Like everyone thinks he's 100% MAGA.
I don't know. I don't know Crime Junkie. I have no idea. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan talks about like everything. I think he literally is smoked on his podcast. I don't know what substances, whatever like that. He's talking about all kinds of stuff. Extra, UFOs, supernatural stuff.
Yeah, he's very good at like.
He's all over the place.
Incendiary.
Joe's great, topics. But I mean, you wouldn't. Let me put this. You wouldn't confuse Joe Rogan with Ted Cruz. Okay, please. All right. So if anything, Joe Rogan's more, again, Tim Pool, Dave Smith. Who does he have on? More libertarian people, more
Well, libertarian's probably more accurate of a conversation.
Exactly. Crime Junkie, don't know what that is. The Daily is from the New York Times, so that's liberal. Call Her Daddy, that's a liberal kind of more.
What's that liberal? Why? I don't understand what calling it liberal.
Whatever you want to call it. It's more of like a feminist thing. I only know that because I've seen it like through the news thing. I've never watched it, so I don't know. I'm not casting any aspersions. I'm not alleging anything. It's my personal opinion. But of the top 5, we've got 2 non-Republican. How about, are you okay with that? Right? Okay, non-Republican. The past weekend, that's Theo Vaughn, and he said
he's great. Have you seen all the kid things? I mean, it's awesome.
At the
have you seen where they take the AI and they make him Theo Vaughn doing podcasts as a kid?
The Ghibli stuff, and now it's the kid thing, the baby thing.
It's just so good.
I know.
I mean, I could watch that. Like I could get in the doom scroll of just watching Theo Vaughn do his podcast as a child.
Dayline NBC.
The child gets so excited. Like I've never seen such an excited child.
That's great. Yeah, he's great. Dayline NBC, This American Life, New Heights with Kaleson.
How much money do they make? Jason and Travis, how much money they got? How much money? What was the bag they got?
They're stacking money. So there you go. Now the Apple podcast, maybe that's a little bit different, right? This is AI from Google. So that's that. I mean, Apple podcast, maybe that's a little bit of a different chart. Let's see if that has something a different look here.
No, that'll be just kind of newsy. I don't know how.
Is it more of a newsy thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean Joe's on there, but yeah, look, it's
You got different things here. So Mel Robbins, Amy
it's a little too newsy.
Poehler,
It's a little
The
too newsy.
Daily, Ezra Klein, I mean,
Yeah.
God Save America. I mean, come on, NPR.
The cure for insomnia is right there. Like
Yeah,
besides Joe
oh, no,
Rogan,
I
I
know.
would pass out if
I
you
know.
played any of that.
But again, like,
Why don't you do this? The highest paid podcaster. Google that.
probably Rogan.
Let me see.
He got the big, and Howard Stern got a big
Put it in there. Highest paid
Spotify thing.
podcasters, right up there.
But hold on a second. Let me just roll this thing out.
Okay.
So the claim, I think, or the question from CNN was, hey, the right wing's taking over podcasting, and you just seen all these 2 different charts, all these left wing or non-Republican, non-right wing. How about non-right wing, non-Republican podcasts that are very, very popular? So now what? But let's go to the top paid podcaster, highest paid podcaster.
Highest paid podcaster.
Here we go.
There you go.
All right, here we go. Joe Rogan. I knew.
Rogan.
Yep, because of Spotify, and then
Okay. All right, and then what is there a list? Put list. Highest paid podcasters.
Top 10.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Let's see what we got.
There you go. So show more.
Joe Rogan, Dave Ramsey, Dax Shepard, Karen Kilgraph. Okay.
Dax Shepard, he's good. Another comedian. Bill Simmons,
Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman, Will Arnett. That's awesome. Have you seen
Bateman? I think he may be left. Maybe I don't know. I got to double check that. Chapo Trap Network, Alex Cooper. That's the caller daddy. Look at that. She's making good for her. She's making big money. So I mean, there's a mix.
To me, what you get paid usually is a pretty good indication of what's the most popular, right? So obviously Joe's at the top.
Joe's at the top.
On both lists.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now this is look at this is hold on now. It's 83 million annually. This one's they're getting some true crime comedy podcast. That's 100 million, but they probably have to split it.
It's a 50-50.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Dave Ramsey, Dax Shepard, Bill Simmons. I got to double check on that, but I mean, I don't think he's Republican. And again, not everything's politics. This is what I'm saying. So many people are tired of everything being political. Like we're over that, dude. We're super over that. But I mean, I just think my point is very much, it seems like there's a media bubble there with that CNN questioning. It seems like it's just out of touch and not really connected to what's going on. And again, that was Tim Dillon's reaction. So I thought that was very interesting. So I think that's very interesting, but we can go back to that. But let me ask you, I mean, since, you're on the road a lot, you're, a very smart person, everything like that, business executive.
Maybe.
What do you like? Yeah, no problem. What do you like to listen to? What do you listen to out there on the road?
I mean, if you're starting early in the morning, you got to listen to Squawk Box. I mean, come on.
Sure.
Right off the bat.
Yeah. Joe Kernan. Right.
I love listening to all that. Becky Quick. I mean, she's always coming in with the knowledge.
Yep.
So that I listen to that. That's like the first thing I listen to, and then I'll switch over to my algorithm on YouTube, and that's like all kinds of crazy stuff because I'm not just focused in on like one individual. Like I want to learn about every city that I go to, right? So I'll go onto YouTube and I'll like just go into like the specific city, like Cairo, Georgia, and I'll go and learn. And it's Cairo spelled Cairo.
Yep.
Like Cairo.
Like Cairo.
Cairo. That's how you say it, right?
Yep.
So Cairo. And you know who's from Cairo, Georgia?
Mm-mm.
Google that.
We do.
You're gonna blow your mind. Google Cairo, and then Georgia, and you'll be like, this small town not only does it have one of the best donuts that you've ever had, but Google who's from Cairo, Georgia. And you're going to be like, what? Like, how many famous people are from there?
Let's see.
Per capita.
Wow. That's insane. Oh, my God.
Who's the first one?
Jackie Robinson.
Gotta
love that. That. Beautiful. Jefferson Starship. Teresa Edwards, Olympic medalist. It's amazing.
Yeah, but like, So, but that's what you do when you go to these small communities, right? And so if I get on YouTube and I'll be like, I want to learn everything I can about this particular city or this state, or, what the first capital of Georgia was. Do you know the first capital of Georgia? What city was it? Oh, you
Mm,
don't know? This is a good question. This is a trivia question. Google it right now because I know the answer.
okay. Hold on. I'm sure I did at some point, but
First capital of Georgia.
Savannah?
Nope. You're just guessing. Those are what they call wags.
Oh gosh. Yeah, first capital of Georgia was Savannah. You're busted. Here we go. Don't play with the super
No,
genius.
no, it's not.
Don't
What
play
was the
with the
second
super
capital then?
genius. Don't. Oh, you got to take it up with Google.
Georgia Historic Capitals. Click on that.
Don't play with the super genius.
Go ahead. Let's go. What
Okay.
else? What other cities were capitals in Georgia?
Widely recognized. The first
Oh, that's just making it up before it became a
Georgia
state.
historic capitals.
Okay, let's look it up.
Right there, Georgia. New Georgia Encyclopedia. I don't know. I mean,
Click. What were the capital cities of Georgia? Look at that.
because the thing of it is,
Five
back
capital
in the
cities.
day, everything was about ports.
But it wasn't about Atlanta, right? Like it was like the first one was what?
I got
You say
it.
it's
I'm looking
Savannah,
right
but
here.
what's it say?
Colonial capital, Savannah. That's what it says.
Savannah. Okay, but that's colonial. That's not a state. So keep going.
Oh,
Not a capital
God.
until it's a state. Keep going. Scroll down.
First state capital.
Okay, what was the second one? Let's keep going.
Augusta.
Then what was the third one?
Augusta's second capital. Louisville.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of capitals.
Keep going.
Oh my gosh.
Milledgeville.
Milledgeville.
Yeah, that was the fourth capital.
What are we
And
doing
then
with that?
finally,
Milledgeville.
well, that's what I mean. Like
Because the
finally,
state's expanding and things are changed. That's amazing. No, that's really pretty. And then
like, you didn't know that, did you?
I did not know all that. No.
Yeah, like they've had 5 capitals.
That's wild.
You know, like here's
That's
a
cool.
big one. Did you know how Atlanta got its name? It was Atlanta. Like when you think about a city, of all the cities that are in like big cities, right?
Yeah.
Because this is the kind of stuff that like gets me going at night, and like I land somewhere and I'm like, how the hell, like you go to Atlanta.
How'd this become this way?
How did this become this way, right? Like, so you go to Atlanta and it's like hills. There's no like major water running through there. There's no like big river. It's not like it's not on the Mississippi. It's not on like
Why
like
is this
Pittsburgh. It's not like Pittsburgh with the 3 rivers that intersect.
Is it like a valley? Like
Lake
that's in the valley and everything.
No, it's like up on the hill, bro. Like so.
It's wild.
So the first version of Atlanta, and this will kind of blow your mind too, is like the first name for Atlanta. You know what it was called? Terminus.
Huh.
And it was called Terminus because that is where
railroad
the ships that landed in Savannah brought the product up to Terminus. It connected with the Western Railroad.
That makes sense.
The Atlantic Railroad connected with the Western Railroad, and that's where they started it from, right? And then it was called Thrasher. It was like literally like Thrasherville, because the guy's name was Thrasher. Like
that's
he
right.
named it, and then it was named after his daughter, and his daughter's middle name was like Atalanta, which is like an Italian city, right?
Okay.
Like, and then they switched it to Atlanta, which was the Western Railroad and the Atlantic Railroad, and they kind of combined it together, and boom, 5th capital though. Like, so those are the things that I like to look at. Like, you want to talk about stuff that I like to like podcast or like try to learn stuff. Like, just when there's current events going on, I always like to try to figure out like, well, how did that happen? And let me look at all the research that's around it. And let me find out about the city. Like, what's important for the people that's in that city? How can I have a regular conversation with somebody if I don't want to learn about, what is important to them, right?
Yeah,
So
of course.
People from Milledgeville definitely want you to know that they were the capital before Atlanta.
Something tells me you've had that conversation.
I haven't, but I Googled it, right? I mean, if the only thing you're going to talk to them about is I-75 and I-85 and the Atlanta Falcons and the Braves, and the lowly hawks, then you're going to run out of conversations. But when you start like really digging in and figuring out what's going on, and do that with any place that you go to, right?
Oh yeah.
And just become an information junkie. Like just strap it on and just double fist information. That's what you need to do.
I love information. I love all that. I think that's amazing. So, look, that's really cool. Now, there's a lot of auto news. There's things that are happening out there, and there's a lot of stuff happening. It's pretty crazy now. People are getting a little concerned. If you
About what? What are they concerned about?
they're a little
What
bit
would be the issues?
concerned. They're a
There
little
should be
bit
no
concerned.
issues.
There's a new tariff situation.
Oh, tariffs.
Okay, there's a little tariff
There's no such
situation.
thing as tariffs.
There's a little tariff
Making stuff
situation.
up, man.
The latest one is, let me see if I can find it here. I've got stuff all over the place. I got a lot of different. Yeah, here we go. Now, and on the one hand,
The latest one this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning.
50%,
Somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed and said
50%.
50% EU tariffs today.
Yeah. What's up with that? How do you feel about it?
I don't know. I don't know how you can, run a business with no consistency or predictability. It's really difficult, So I'm sure this is some Machiavellian plan, and it'll work its way out, I guess. In the mean term, you have some manufacturers that are still holding vehicles at the port in hopes, I think, that they think that their tariff situation is going to go from the 50% range or the 25% range down to the 10% range. So I don't know. It's but the cars that are on the lot, I think all the nice, pretty ones got taken away in April, and I think May's been kind of difficult because a lot of the people that had that FOMO ran to the stores and bought a bunch of cars, and all the nice ones usually go first. And then people who are going to just kind of hold out from here a little bit until they figure out whether or not they're going to have to pay. You imagine this: if it's a 50% EU tariff on an A4 or like
Brutal.
like the cars that come over from Europe,
God.
cars that come over from Europe, like an A3.
You remember we were out at Coral Springs and someone's trying to get to a price point and monthly payment. Try to get to a monthly payment on that.
$60,000 for an A3. How about that?
Oh my God!
You're going to sell those, or.
Yeah. Can you do that for $500 a month, Geno?
What in the heck?
It's gonna get rough, bro. But on the other hand,
so what you're going to see though is like Jaguar Land Rover, they're not in the EU, so
right. So
back it on up, baby. Let's go. Everybody who
have the audio,
they're going to have a lot of affordability there if you think about it. Like, so I can see a big pop for Jaguar Land Rover stores. They don't make Austin Healey anymore, or any of those brands aren't here. I mean, the cheap cars are going to be almost. They're gonna have to get a RIP. Look at that. Look at the dog. She just opened the back.
Nice.
But the cheap cars are literally done, I think.
Okay.
Like if you're getting a sub $30,000, sub $25,000 car from Europe, they're done.
Okay.
Like just
so your A3s, your CLA,
A3 is almost $40,000 already. So like
VWs, Passat, Jetta, Tiguan.
There's no more Passats.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah, a lot of that manufacturing is done in Mexico anyway. So like the Taos, Jetta, and Tiguan are all made in Mexico, but they get a 25% tariff, right? So, but a 50% tariff that ends any production that's not in Mexico, like a car, so. But I guess the real question would be like, do you think people are going to pay? If you're on $110,000 S class, are you going to pay another 50% on top of that? Are you going to pay $160,000?
Some will. I mean, what's interesting is
like a Bentley. How about a Lamborghini? They're made like.
Here's what's interesting.
How much can they handle? Like a $250,000 Urus is now going to be $375,000.
I think for some brands, like manager Ferrari, I think Ferrari is it's negligible for them. You know what I mean?
What about Porsche?
Porsche's different, and you know that. Yeah, we both know that Porsche is different.
Yeah. How are you gonna feed somebody a Cayenne for
Nah,
50%
right, because
more.
right. It's Cayenne and the Panameras. You know, I mean, like that's a different. Now it's different. Obviously, it's evolved, but back in the day, yeah, that's
Volvo's in a really bad
yeah.
spot.
Volvo's in a bad spot on that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. BMW is going to,
BMW, you know,
but
I would say
BMW is
some
going
of
to flip you too.
their fun cars, you know, like the stuff that's really,
Great cars.
yeah, the fun cars that they have in their lineup
OEMs, right?
are actually built in Europe. Those are the ones that are going to be exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
But most of their inventory is built in
Spartanburg.
South Carolina. I was just there. So
how was that? I when I got my M5, I got like supposed to go and do track stuff.
I was in Spartanburg, and actually, it's a quaint little town. Downtown's kind of cool, but and Google this. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Okay.
Google it. Where the headquarters of Denny's is.
I don't know. That's interesting.
Google it. I think it's.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's see if I'm right.
Let's see what you're right. Let's see. Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Look at that. Let me pull that up.
Yeah.
Hold on. Look at that.
Yeah, the headquarters.
You know, all kinds of local information. I love this.
That's right. Like, yeah, look at that building. It looks like.
That's wild.
It's like kind
I
of
want
like
the moons over my hammy, right?
I know, but that building, like,
Grand
click on the
Slam?
picture of that building. Click on the picture of that building.
Yeah.
Those images of that building, it looks very like Eastern European
That's
communist,
wild. That's wild.
like I don't know what they call that, but that doesn't look like a building you would see in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
It's kind of stoic. It's different.
I forget what the construction that they call that.
I'm not the architect, that's for sure.
Yeah, but that construction has like if you took the little Denny's logo off of it, right?
Yeah.
It has this like that building should be in Eastern Europe. That should be a building in like
Albania. Or 1950s or something. It's different. It's
it's not even. It's that
different look.
Yeah.
But so meanwhile, so you think how long do you think this goes? I mean, you've been an auto executive. Now you're on the dealership broker.
So here's the one thing I will tell you is I have zero clue on how long this goes. Like this guy wakes up in the morning.
I love it.
And he decides,
But here's the argument on the other end.
We're at the mercy of executive orders, so you have no idea how long it's going to go, right?
The other argument is that basically this is kind of like, and Trump talked about this. I'm pull up C-SPAN, just play that sound a little bit because I think it's probably worthwhile. Let me do that here because basically what he said is what the argument is very briefly without getting into everything. So we have so much stuff to get into. I'm still got to get to the gym and everything, but is it you've had this Marshall Plan, which kind of one-way tariffs, it kind of meant to rebuild Europe, and it's been going on, including this tariff stuff for a long time, and it's like Trump's like, okay, we've had enough of this. It's kind of the deal. It's kind of the argument because it's not just tariffs, it's the non-trade barriers, it's the VATs, it's all kinds of different stuff. It's the regulations, it's everything, and so Trump kind of gets into that. Let me see if I can get this to this is C-SPAN public domain. Let me see if I can put this here. Oh, let me turn off that. I'll come back to that as soon as
commercial. Yes, that's great. I mean, World War II is like in the 40s. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like it's over. So the real response is, to have no tariffs on either side, but that we're not in that spot. We're not in that spot. And so to the extent that they have,
how many Citroens are driving around in America right now?
No, I get you. I got it.
How many Skodas are driving around?
I got it. And then so we got.
But that's my point, though. Like, I think the cars that are coming over, people want. If you make them price prohibitive, then they're not going to want them anymore.
Right. Now, what's interesting though is
that reduces choice, right? So, and I think America is.
Okay, here we go. I've got some
more
of this
successful with choice. That's just my opinion.
Now, here we go. I think I've got this teed up, and then my thing's going out. I think I've got this teed up. This is C-SPAN public domain. Let's hear from President Trump, and then we'll comment on it.
Beautiful hair today.
And we're going to do it. President, what about the Earth? You said the negotiations are nowhere. Where are the kind
Well,
of
they're just
points where
very slow moving. I've been saying to everybody, they've treated us very badly over the years. It was formed in order to hurt the United States, in order to take advantage of the United States, and they've done that. And we have a big deficit with them. They sell millions and millions of cars, as you know, Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen and many others. And we were restricted from essentially restricted from selling cars into the European Union, which is not nice. And I said it's time we play the game the way I know how to play the game. You know, nobody they've taken advantage of other representing this country, and they're not going to do that any longer. Yeah.
Mr. President, you are deal maker, deal breaker. What are you hoping to achieve with a 50% tariffs on the?
Well, I think this is there is no tariff because what they'll do is they'll send their companies into the U.S. and build their plant. You know, we have I guess over $12 trillion. Practically,
That seems to be the goal.
The president's $1 trillion for a year, 2 years, 3 years.
I don't know.
What do you think? What's your take?
I can't even.
You're buying it? You're not buying it?
So here's my take. My daughter goes to a school on a road,
Yep.
and they've been working on this bridge for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
A bridge. 2 years.
You ever hear of the big dig in Philly, in Boston, rather?
Yeah, 2 years. So I don't know how we're going to get,
Plants built that quickly.
all these factories built within 4. I think Tim Cook said it earlier today. Like, he'll just take the tariff and pass it along, because if you try to build an iPhone in the United States of America, it'd probably be like a $3,500 price tag, and I think that makes it almost impossible for him to.
Now, what's interesting is
be
that
price competitive, because the Koreans are making it and manipulating their won and bringing the Samsung stuff in, and this is like weaponized socialism. It's kind of an interesting thing. I've never seen free markets being. So I don't really have that much to say in regards to that. It's just different. It's a time period. It's just hard for a company to have any predictability. And I think the market and small businesses want predictability. And so hopefully we get to see that soon. And hopefully we can get both outcomes. Maybe we can get predictability, and we can get the External Revenue Service bringing in money. Maybe that's potentially the plan, and maybe we get more plants built in the United States of America. I think it's really hard to think that you can get a whole bunch of facilities built before the end of this term. So a lot of these folks are probably going to go through what I call like the stages of death in the decision making. Right? There's going to be that. Yeah. There's going to be denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance, right? So I don't think you decide as a CEO of a large manufacturing company, and it doesn't have to just be automotive, that you're going to spend all of your cash building a automobile facility in Birmingham, Alabama, because over the next 4 years they won't. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see, like, it's going to take 2 years to find the location potentially. Mm-hmm. Then after that, maybe you can fast forward. It's a year, right? And then it's going to be a year to start getting the zoning and the plotting and all that fun stuff, right? And lawyers.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, and then after that, it's going to take another year to start to, maybe you get the construction done in 2 or 3 years after that, and then who knows who the next president can be, that can come in and be like, executive order the opposite way.
Now, on the other hand, and I'm going to talk about Canada as well. There's a lot to talk about Canada. You've got this article here, Automotive News, Canadian auto leaders see end in sight for U.S. vehicle tariffs. So is this just a negotiating leverage for President Trump? Is this a way to get the policy that he wants to help the economics here in the U.S., and it's basically a temporary thing? So
no clue.
Right.
No clue. I don't think anybody does. And that's the beauty of his process, I think, for him. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm not going to argue with you about it, because there is no, like,
who knows? You can't. Yeah, you don't have the data.
You don't have the data. Um, you know, I think that April was probably a record-breaking month for automotive, which is great. I don't think May has been that same momentum, so to speak.
But we still have Memorial Day, as you brought up last time and last show.
Yeah. So, but let's let it play out. Like,
That's what I think. Let Trump cook.
what do they say? That say the liars always figures never lie.
Well, and what did you make of the big historic trip to the Middle East? Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, where Trump's making deals. He had a bunch of U.S. companies there. He had Steve Witkoff there. I hope I'm getting that right. I apologize if I am. If I'm not. You had
again, getting right now.
India there. A lot of these.
There's a lot of money that's being promised to be spent. So
let's see what happens.
Back to your insufficient data, right? So
But but the indications, I mean, obviously we don't know, but I mean, do you feel like, let me make it more simple. Do you feel like that was a successful trip? Did you like the business focus? I think he called himself the builder in chief and not the blank in chief, right? I mean, so I feel like
he's the commander in chief.
No, I know, but he play on words. Basically, that his foreign policy is built on deals and business, basically, not on wars and other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a different vibe. We've seen the Fed hold rates similar.
They're going to raise them. You watch.
And they might, but here's what's weird is that you have here, where did I have? I've got stuff all over the place here. You've got a report where you had the lowest home sales right here, CNBC. March home sales dropped to the lowest.
Yeah, but April was up.
What's up?
Look at April's home sales. It was a beat.
Let's see. Was it a beat?
It was a beat by like 200,000 units or something, or 100 and something thousand units.
So what do you make of the economy? You're out there on the road. You're talking to people. What's your vibe on it?
I think the lack of predictability is weighing on small businesses' ability to invest and to plot out their future. Mm-hmm. Small businesses don't work on a annual basis. They work on a monthly, weekly basis. Their cash register fills up on a weekly basis, and that's how they're spending their money to pay for their new capex, and that's how they're spending their money to pay for.
Home sales looked still down.
I just saw a report. It was up.
I don't make the news, brother.
I'm just telling you, it was up.
All right.
Scroll down. It was a beat. It might be down.
Was it? Okay, hold on.
It was a beat. Yeah.
Here we go. Home sales have been at 75% of normal pre-pandemic activity. Median price. Price has gone.
Look at the amount of sales.
Sales of previously owned homes declined 0.5%, seasonally adjusted to 4%. That's the slowest pace since April 2009.
I'll tell you what.
All right. Sales were down 2%, but the economists expected a gain of 2.7%.
Hold on.
All right.
Hold, please.
No problem. Well, anyway, it's interesting out there. It shows that there is a lot of mixed messages. Maybe there's some different things.
Divergent. There's a lot of divergent messages.
Yes. Yeah. And at the same time, I think we've seen, some inflation.
Yeah, there it is. U.S. April new home sales. Look up new home sales.
Okay.
U.S. April.
New home sales. So maybe So now, just so you know, existing homes.
743,000.
It's like used cars or news cars.
I know. Yeah, and they have to get rid of their inventory, so they incentivize.
Right. Existing homes are much bigger market than new.
But they're up 740. They expected 695, and it was 743.
But I think that's a good. So that's a very good point, and we're going to extol on that. I am a real estate agent here in Florida. We're
question. I got a question for you. Then you ready?
Okay. But let me do this real quick because I think it'll help both our points. Is when you have, as you said, they have to move inventory, in my opinion, the builders. And when the builders are showing that they've got some signs of life here as opposed to the market, it may indicate, I'm not giving any forecast, but it's my personal opinion, non-professional, that they are adjusting faster, that the home builders are adjusting faster to whatever it is. It's value, price, incentive, however they're doing it, they're figuring out how to get the consumers to say yes faster than the existing home sales out there. People have been talking about that maybe sellers aren't ready to adjust and come off those pandemic highs of their prices. They don't want to lower the prices. And I think home builders are reacting a lot more nimbly. And we're seeing that, when whatever they're doing is working in the market. So I take your point. Go ahead,
All right. So here's my question for you.
Yeah.
FLSB 264.
FLSB 264. Oh, is this the property tax thing?
No. FLSB 264. What would that do to existing home sales in the state of Florida if it was repealed?
Let's see. Hold on.
That's the real question.
Yep.
Yeah. We're
Okay, this is AI overview. FLSB 264, also known as SB 264, a Florida law that restricts ownership of certain real property by individuals and entities associated with specific foreign countries of concern. Oh, wow.
So what would happen to the market if they let it be free?
Anytime you decrease demand, it's going to decrease price.
Yeah. So are we artificially suppressing property values in the state of Florida? Are we artificially, suppressing?
But on the other hand, if DeSantis
the rate of sale
is successful in removing the property tax assessments here in Florida, that would, if people are talking about
how would you do that? Let me let's get on the honesty train right now.
How would you be able to do that, right?
Is it going to be another thing like, oh yeah, well, it's no tax on tips, but it's up to $25,000. But first you have to pay your taxes, and then you'll get it as a reimbursement and a deduction from your total income at the end of the year.
It's if they were.
What is it going to be like? No property tax only on your homestead, or is it going to be no property tax on everything?
I think you're onto something there. I think if they were to do it, it would be a primary residence homestead type.
Okay, so then what happens?
I don't know.
So what happens to people who are like purchase homes,
investors and all, or snowbirds and then vacation, the Airbnbs and all that.
Yeah, so are they gonna take the money that isn't being charged to the homesteaded person and then push it over to them?
They clearly have to work out the economics, and there's a lot of different permutations and issues with that. I think
I'm all about it. To be honest with you, it's crazy.
They're really high.
Affordability is insane right now. Think about it.
Right.
You buy a house
between property tax and insurance.
But just think about it. 20 years ago, you bought a house.
Yep. Paid it off
for $400,000, right? And you owe $100,000 on it. Let's just say, right? And you're like, okay, I'd like to move east.
Yeah.
I live in, Broward County. I live in Parkland, or I live in, Coral Springs, and I want to move east
by the water.
To Boca.
Yeah.
To Boca.
Sure.
Right. And you like go and look at these houses that are 1/3 the size of your house, right? Beautiful neighborhood.
Yep.
But they're $1.2 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now your house in Coral Springs you bought for $400,000, it's worth $800,000, right? So you made $400,000. You've got $700,000 to put on a $1.2 million house, right?
Okay.
But your property tax went from $8,000 a year to $24,000 a year, and you got a smaller house. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's it. Philosophically, I can tell you what's being said over on the Republican side, and politically, is that exactly what you're talking about. You moved to Florida, you're retired, you've owned your home, maybe your spouse passed away, whatever it is, and now you're a retired person by themselves. Your house is paid off, but your property tax has just gone up and up and up, and now you can have your house taken away from you while you're living in it. And
Yeah.
and do you really own it if you keep having to pay tax on it? If someone can keep
Yeah, I get that. I'm 100% for that. I get it. But the semantics of how they put it together is going to be weird. Because then, because a lot of people who live in their home, that own their home, will put it in a trust.
Yeah.
So then, okay, if it's in a trust, does it qualify then?
There's a lot they have to work out on, and along with
And then
stuff.
I guess I'm 100% for it unless they then move it to the people who have investment properties, and they go, okay, well, we're going to double your real estate tax because we're no longer taxing people's homes. You know what I mean?
It's going to be very interesting to see how that works out.
Then you know what happens, right? Because then people won't invest because they're going to have to pay too much money.
Of course.
And then the price of investment properties go down, and then there'll be less of them, and then that means the price of rent will go up. I mean, it's just
a lot of stuff going on. A couple of things to get to here.
Let's just put it that way. I would love to have an additional, $1,000 a month in free working capital that doesn't go to paying real estate taxes, especially since my kids are grown almost now, and one's in college already, and one will be done in 4 years. So I get paying for fire and police and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of these are paying for schools and stuff that some people don't even have kids.
Well, and I think we're going to see
one of the things I watched.
Yeah.
That you need to look up. Maybe we can discuss it at some other point.
Okay.
Is the lack of children in the state of Florida. I don't know if you've looked this up yet.
Wow.
You should look up.
I believe it.
I can send you the video. I watched it the other day, and it was like a real estate guy, and he was saying Florida's at 21 million, but in the next 15 years, because no one's having
I know exactly what you're talking about. I watched that guy. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's going to go from 21 million down to 14 million.
Yep.
And we'll have a crisis.
Yep.
In real estate because of it. It'll just
you
just
gotta be
that.
careful. I mean, that's what's held me off a little bit here too. Is I'm not giving any predictions or everything like that, but I'm more, I think you can still make the bear case out there. You know what I mean? I mean, you never know. On the other hand, if they do this property tax thing, then how many people are going to flood into Florida? So we'll see. I mean, potentially. I mean, and who knows? But I think there's definitely some things going on with that. Let's talk about this real quick. A couple other things I want to get to. So let's do a little speed type of round on this. China's BYD outsells Tesla in Europe for the first time. So it's not just Tesla now. I mean, there's disruption in automotive. BYD is a huge deal. How do you feel about that?
Build your dreams.
That's
what BYD stands for. Listen, this is how products work. If you make an unbelievable, undeniable product, people want it. They'll pay what they need to pay for it. Now, if you make an unbelievable product and it's less expensive than the others, then people will buy it in higher demand. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I don't know. BYD makes pretty cool cars. I haven't seen one in person, but what I've seen online has been pretty cool, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of competition coming on now. And
I have my own personal opinion because Tesla literally stole, I think, 50% of all the Audi customers, right?
Yeah.
So,
yes.
But Audi used to have the cachet, they used to have the technology cachet, and Tesla took it. So, the fact that Tesla has somebody else trying to take away their cachet makes sense, right? That's just the cycle of entrepreneurship, right? Henry Ford, was taken over by General Motors, right? So it's just
Dodge Boys came along. There's always someone new.
There's always somebody who's inventing a better mousetrap, right? So
now we're talking about this, and we can't touch on it too much. I'll probably push off Harvard and some of the law firm stuff and stuff to another show. But I do want to touch on this because when we're talking about Canada we've
About
had.
how bad their hockey team is? Is that what you want to talk about?
There's that. There's Mark Carney. It got elected and everything, and he had he came here and met with President Trump, and Trump has joked about, or I don't know, he's talked about some different things with Canada, but there's things that are happening.
They don't want to make that a 51st state.
But hold on now. What about Alberta? Because this is not just some, person talking on the internet. This is the New York Times that has said Alberta stands apart in Canada. Now it plans a long shot bid to secede.
Yeah.
And we've seen this before in Canada with Quebec. Okay, so it's not like this has never happened before. And a lot of people said that trade in Canada really happens north-south. It doesn't really happen east-west. And because Alberta and Calgary and stuff like that, they have the oil, the natural minerals and resources that really funds a lot of Canada, and they're not on board with the carbon tax and the green energy stuff that's being pushed by Ottawa. So what would that mean? I mean, do you have a vibe on that?
I think you have a better chance of California seceding from the United States than Alberta seceding from Canada.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but
the problem is for Alberta, it's in the middle, right?
Yep.
So
landlocked.
Yeah, it's landlocked. So okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Well, they can trade with their partner to the south, but I think it would make it extremely difficult to Alberta otherwise. You know what I mean? So whereas you look at California or Texas, because you've heard Texas seceding before too,
Sure.
right? So Texas has its own coast. Texas is connected to another country, right? So it's a little bit different. The coast that Alberta has is, I think, a little frigid, right? Mm-hmm. So it has a coast.
Now, what's interesting here is, and I don't know, the St. Albert Gazette, more than half of Canadians say they understand the separatism poll. So I don't know what's going to happen.
What's the population density in Alberta versus
Ontario? I know. Right. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I think that maybe not unlike here, maybe not unlike a lot of places in the world. My point is not that they're going to become we'll see, but I think that there's definitely, whether it's Greenland, there's conversations that are happening. There's things that are happening internally. Things are dynamic. Things are in flux. A lot of changes are happening. As you mentioned, with Florida, with the population, with housing, we're seeing with work with AI, we're seeing return to office. We're seeing a lot of stuff, even in California now. All of a sudden, Gavin Newsom, he's changing some of his policies as people start veering towards, and looking towards 2028. I think we're seeing things, whether you're in business or personal stuff, you're seeing a lot of change out there, Geno. How do people navigate that? How would a dealership owner navigate some of that?
Don't go to Alberta. What do you okay, I try to worry about the stuff that actually pertains to me. So, if Alberta succeeded, then let the Albertans succeed, I guess. I mean, it's it happens in Europe all the time. That map has changed to 1 billion times.
Oh my gosh!
Since I was in high school, right? So you look at Yugoslavia and what it turned into.
Right. Yeah.
And you're just looking. I mean, and some of those aren't even with bloodshed. It just changes. So many different times it's changed. So, North America and South America have been relatively pretty stable as countries go.
Mm-hmm. Are you? Let's wind down on this, and obviously we'll catch up next week. We have lots more to talk about. I got to get ready.
You dressed on Friday today. That was the cool. I'm dressed
on Friday. You're looking good. You got the Ohio. You got the Florida Marlins. How do you feel? How are you feeling about the Panthers? Who do you like? You like the Panthers now? You feel like they got it all?
I like them. I like their position currently right now for this series. But Dallas is hot. I don't want to play Dallas, and
Stars are streaking, bro.
And I certainly don't want to play Connor McJesus. I don't want to play that guy, Draisaitl. I don't want to play a team that almost figured us out, but like we're gonna have to play one of those two teams.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's going to be a dogfight. I think Florida has a good chance to win it all again because they've been there, done that, and there's some maturity around that
Playoff
team.
experience.
Well, they just don't get rattled,
No.
right? You know, you
What's
get.
it like? What's it like?
Let's put it this way: like they lost the first two games in Toronto.
Yeah.
Right. They came home, won their two games.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Went up to Toronto, beat them 6-1.
Wow.
Subsequently came home and lost.
That's unbelievable.
Came home and lost 2-0, so it was a 3-3 tie.
Yep.
But I don't think anyone, including the Toronto fans, had any confidence that Toronto was going to win Game 7 in Toronto. Right? Because that team's mature. They didn't freak out. Oh my God, we lost a game.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to win Game 7, right? And and I think that confidence that like everything's going to be okay makes a big difference. If you're going to make like a full circle on like predictability,
yes,
right? Confidence, predictability, in small businesses and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
You know, I think that is the key for success. Like those guys went through being up 3-0 and then losing 3 straight games and then having to win Game 7. And like
they did it.
If you can do that, you know, you can get through anything. So losing 2-0 at home, Game 6, going back up Toronto, they were like, well, we're not going to go home. Like, think about this. The way the NHL playoffs are, like they finished the game in Toronto. They went straight to Raleigh.
Yeah.
Like there was no going home. So they've been on the road now for they're home now, but they were on the road for like 10 days or some nonsense.
Pro like athlete that. Life. How do you feel? How are you feeling about this? The current state of the economy right now. Are you feeling good about it? Neutral on it? Bearish? What's your vibe?
I think it's being held back. I think I'm super bullish.
You're super bullish.
I'm super bullish. I think it was on a tear to begin with. Like I don't know if you go back to February 19th. Like everybody goes to Liberation Day, but if you go to February 19th, all-time highs.
Wow.
Momentum was all the way there, right?
Let's go.
Okay.
A lot to talk about here. A lot happening.
And that was February 19th was the first day they started talking about in some seriousness about like the trade tariff situation, right? And so that was like an outline. They didn't have the big placards with like the rates, but they were like, it's coming, right? So since then, it's kind of had this zigzag, you know, but it's all like self-induced zigzagging. I think if you took away that and put some predictability, even if it was just 10%, which would be, by the way, 10% would be the highest in over 90 years. 90 years would be the highest tariffs in 90 years, right? So like, but the market reacted pretty well to that, right? So you could have 10%
that'll work
across the board. You could bring in a ton of revenue that way. And I don't think you need to be at 50% or 145 or whatever the number that you want to just use. But I think once that kind of weans into predictability, I think then the economy will just start chugging along.
So this plan, this current course, these policies, Scott Bessent, you know,
Scott's great.
Scott's great.
Scott's got his like he's holding on to the tail of a tiger, I think, more than anything, right? Like he's yeah.
Let's go. Come on now. You can't be you feeling good. You gotta, I mean, you can't, you know, if you're going to feel good, you're super bullish. So you got to give some credit around there, G Bunny. I mean, what are we doing?
No, what I'm saying is that like the economy is that great, the trajectory that we're on.
No, it'd be even better without these policies.
It'd be even better. It'd be like gangbusters.
Oh
like it'd be off the charts right now.
Let's go.
Seriously, we would all be saying to ourselves,
oh man, I love it.
We're at 50,000 on the Dow. That's what we would be saying right now. The conversation would be that.
That's why we have a show. Different opinions,
we're
different
hit 50,000. That would be the conversation. And
what
you can pass all the other stuff.
We're going to, me and the fam and I are going to Sarasota. We're going to have some fun, and then get some support too. What do you got going this weekend?
Alert the police.
Hey, come on. What do we
I
got?
already well, I had to go to IMAX and I saw Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
That
Oh, how was that?
Final Reckoning. It was good. I think it was a good. If it's over, it was a good way to end it.
He does a good job with that whole series. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, he like does his own stunts.
I
Like
know
me
he's
and
on the
you doing our
plane.
own
What
stunts,
are we
he does-
doing?
yeah.
Oh my god.
It was insane. It was really like I'm like clinching. Like,
Yeah, it's a little what?
like,
They better have him stop. Yeah. We better have the safety heart on.
But other than that, it's I'm working some deals over the weekend, trying to get some stuff handled and finished. And
Okay. Anything we can announce yet? You want to announce or
no,
not yet?
not at all, man. My business is 100% confidentiality.
Oh, very important. Okay. Understood.
It'll be announced once it can be announced.
Announce when you can. And okay, I understand.
But there is. So here's what I would tell you: there's a lot more buyers than sellers right now.
I believe.
And that's why I would tell you that it's extremely bullish based upon that. I meet people every day, and they all want to buy stuff.
And they're not worried. They're not worried about anything.
There's no fire sales going on. There's no depressed. I got to get out of this.
You should have led with that, player. That's the headline of the whole podcast. Are you kidding me? Because we're tariffs and this and that, whatever, and BYD and Tesla. If you're telling me that you've got more buyers and sellers, and people are lining up, saying, "I want to,"
I'm talking about like it's like 10. It's 20 to 1 buyers to sellers. Yeah.
Wait. Give me. Hold on. Give me 2 minutes on that. What's going on and why?
I think a lot of people are very happy and they're looking to grow. Automotive's a really predictable business once you get it going.
Existing groups or new entrants?
A lot of existing people that want to scale up, right? There are first-time buyers that are interested. I don't think they understand how high the bar is in order for them to be able to do it.
To get going. Let me ask you this. I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to get as much information in a short time here. Do you believe that, as a former major operator yourself, obviously, do you believe, running a big group, do you believe that there is a economies of scale in that business such that bigger by itself, all things being equal, is better? That it makes sense for groups to just grow bigger, or is it not like that?
Here's why. There's a couple of reasons why you should grow bigger. One, economy scales, your expenses come down. You have a corporate team. It's divided by 15 stores. Now it's divided by 25 stores.
Amortize the cost, right?
So there's that component to it. But to me, I think it's less about that. I think it's very simple. I remember meeting with when they did the buy sell for Lithia back at Audi Coral Springs, and one of the conversations that kind of stuck out to me is when Lithia started, they're from like Bend, Oregon. They're like from a little old town. Like they started with a couple of dealerships. And
who was leading on Lithia? Was that Mike Cavanaugh and his team, or who was?
I can't tell you the names, but I can tell you that they started in Bend, Oregon, and part of the reason why they kept acquiring stores is because they had really good people underneath them that they wanted to give them opportunities. And so the only way to give them opportunities was to acquire more stores, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of guys and gals that are in automotive right now have really good people underneath them. And because they don't want to watch them walk out the door to go work for somebody else, they're looking to acquire stores to keep those really good people, right? So
that makes sense. And it sounds and we talked about this in different ways.
So you got the cost reduction, but you also have, I got this really good team. I love having John Villarreal. I love having, this person who I think.
Give me some stores. Let's go.
I want to see them grow. Right. You know what I mean?
Dude, we need our own stores, Geno. We need to get some stores going. We need to get some things going. But I think what you're telling me.
Well, me and you can get a 7-Eleven. Okay.
That's fine. I'll take a lemonade stand. That's okay. It'll be a great lemonade stand.
Waffle House, yeah.
That's fine. Waffle House. Oh, Waffle House would be amazing. Are you kidding me?
Come on, 24/7, baby.
I love that, dude. Everything happens at the
Waffle House. 7-Eleven.
Dude, Waffle House, isn't that a Texas-based? Like we have Waffle House all over Texas. Let me ask you this:
they're all over Florida too.
Yeah, all over Florida. I know.
It's like literally like a hurricane thing. Like
it is. It's like southern. Yeah. What about Do you feel like in automotive then it's kind of haves and have-nots? Like you have these elite organizations, and basically their operations are so good that they can easily expand and basically take advantage of maybe some of the inefficiencies that are out there across the dealership, or why does the lithium model work, or the auto,
There's so many different. There's no right way to build and scale. There's so many. It's like the multiverse of
yeah,
building.
you've seen a lot of different successful
Yeah.
models.
So and some businesses aren't built for just brick and mortar. They have inherent adjacent businesses that are helping them grow financially. So there's no pinpointing why one group works and why you could be a really good group and kick serious. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
And move to a different market and then fall completely on your face.
But
Right?
if you were to say one thing that makes you successful in the automotive space, it is the team, is what I'm hearing, mainly.
People, I would definitely say people are your biggest differentiator for success.
I love it. Geno Walsh, the operator. Here we go. I love it. Great job. Thank you for coming on Friday. We had fun. There's been a lot going on here. Good job. Also, have a great weekend. For Geno, I am John. I think it's been a great show. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.